This week on Salmon Showdown. Don't you just love it when a plan comes together?
Fish, 35 down, moving in from the starboard side.
Of course, not all plans are created equal.
Well, that's not a 333 weigher.
This was a bad day.
And like they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get tossed.
The only other thing we haven't done yet is throw the cameraman in the water.
Welcome to Salmon Showdown Grand Haven Offshore Challenge Edition. And like the song says, man, it's a hot one. It's been in the 90s in this region of Michigan for the last week straight, and we're expecting that to continue through almost the entire weekend. This is normally one of the biggest events on the Lake Michigan Tournament Trail. We could see 70 plus boats here this weekend. We're all looking forward to getting things rolling here in Grand Haven again. Site of the Offshore Challenge. We've got two brand new boats for you to ride along with this weekend. So let's meet our featured teams. First up, hailing out of the Port of Holland is Team The One. They'll be fishing out of this 1994 Pursuit 3100 with a four-man crew that consists of Don Bale, Brian Smith, Cabot Sturck, and Jay Funk. Grand Haven will mark this team's first score in this year's Founders Cup race, but they're no stranger to the competition. They just missed the top 10 last season, and a quick start here will help in their hopes of climbing up above the pay line this year. Next up is Team Shiny Objects. They are new to the Founders Cup race, and they're also pretty new to big lake fishing in general. Hailing out of Traverse City, Michigan, the Shiny Objects is a 2023 Lund Fisherman 2075. In fact, Captain Rich Barrett took delivery of this boat just last week. You won't find a newer vessel anywhere on the trail this season, and at 21 foot, you won't find a smaller one either. Rich will be joined by a two-man crew consisting of his brother Doug Barrett and Steve Maxwell. The Grand Haven Offshore Challenge has always been one of the largest events on the circuit, and this year is no exception. Over 70 boats are staging outside the harbor waiting for the clock to strike 6 a.m. With the start of this event now just minutes away, the teams review their day one plans.
We're going to be setting inside of what we've been fishing all week just to see if there's some fish there. Some fairly shallow water, and we'll move out from there. We'll be running mainly spoons. Probably later in the day switch out to some meat and spinny flies.
We're probably going to start right up in here. I'm gonna scoot us over there real quick, watch everybody fly by us, and then I'll get the kicker turned on, and then you can just steer us probably like right in here, and then maybe do a loop through this way and back up this way. So normally they're fun because we just throttle and I'm usually pretty fast right off the lot. Huh? Well, apparently it's time to start.
Yeah, it's time to go.
We didn't get a radio announcement.
With that, it is 6 a.m. and the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge is underway. While the One throttles up with the rest of the field, Shiny Objects puts lines down immediately to see what they can find just off the Grand Haven Harbor.
And back throttles right here. We're gonna get the ball in as soon as Doug gets his rigger set.
Meanwhile, the One did run, but not too far. They've reached their spot quickly and are setting up shop.
What's our depth? 56.
If you want to catch some fish, step one is to find some fish. Tournament teams rely heavily on electronics to help in that search. Right off the bat, the One's Garmin readout is showing signs of life.
Fish, 35 down, moving in from the starboard side, going up to the starboard out down.
Back on Shiny Objects, they're battling their first bite. Well, kinda.
Well,
That's not a 333 weigher.
Probably a much bigger battle for the fish than it was for Doug. This little guy is surely worn out from the fight, but luckily for him, he's a bit shy of legal, and that means, per DNR rules, he goes back in the lake and lives to fight another day. Back on board the One, they're hooked up with their first fish of the morning. While it still may not find its way to the Founders Cup scales, it is definitely legal, so this one goes in the box.
Yak lure, Captain Chuck's.
Salmon Showdown is brought to you by Moonshine Lures, quality super glow lures for salmon, trout, walleye, and striper. Go Lake Marine, first on the water since 1911. Magnum Metals, dominate the depths. Welcome back to Salmon Showdown. It is day one at the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge, and Team The One is hooked up and trying to boat fish number 2. He's in the net and destined for the box. It'll be good for 10 points in the host tournament, but it's quite a bit shy of what they need to fill one of their 3 slots for the Founders Cup. It's been a pretty slow day here at the Offshore Challenge, and while they've got the skunk out of the box with those 2 early salmon, the 10-fish scale limit is looking like it's going to be a challenge. With that in mind, the One adds a new self-imposed rule to ensure that each team member makes every bite count.
If you miss 2 fish, then you have to wear the hat.
Meanwhile, they are hooked up on the shiny objects.
Woohoo! Not a weigher.
It is 1 in the box, but the overall situation is basically the same here. Action is slow, they're a long way off from the 10-fish limit, and they haven't found anything that will warrant a trip to the Founders Cup scales. Perhaps this one will be different.
Probably silly to do this now in the middle of a fish fight. See, you can swing your rigger out too, or at least quarter it.
And perhaps not. Hey, chin up, Rich. At least your team doesn't adhere to that new skunk hat rule.
We still only got 3 fish in the box. We lost 3 more. We haven't had any good reports from things going on out deep. We were marking some fish in here a little bit, so we're going to continue to try and pound it out in here. Changed our direction, see if that would improve anything at all. But yeah, not a good day so far.
Time continues to slip away on day number 1, and unfortunately back on shiny objects, so do the fish. Like most events on the circuit, the Offshore Challenge has a 9-rod limit. However, the rules do allow for sliders, which you see here. It's a rigging technique that allows teams to deploy 2 baits on 1 rod. The One is also running sliders, and right now, one of them is hooked up.
Wherever the sliding line, when you let a downrigger down with a bottom lure to 50 foot, theoretically the slider that you add to the line is halfway, the half of the distance, so 20, let's say 25 feet.
What?
So when that fish hits that slider, it's got to slide all the way down another 25 feet on that line to catch up. To catch up. So you get that much slack in there until you catch up to them.
So more baits, good. More slack, bad.
Did it look like a decent fish?
Yeah, probably.
So that fight ends with another story about the one that got away. And with time running out, there's really not much left to do other than try anything to spark some last-minute luck.
Right now we are not doing so well. It will be called our new rally cap. The only other thing we haven't done yet is throw the cameraman in the water.
So the fishing period is closed for day one here at the Grand Haven Offshore Classic. The scales, as you can see, are open. Again, close to 80 boats competing here. Probably close to 80 boats frustrated with what they were able to get out of the lake. But let's take a look at how our featured teams did here on day number one.
You know, we had a lot higher expectations for the day than what happened. We thought we'd start out shallow. We tried a couple different points shallow, then we moved out deep, only caught one little coho. But we're really optimistic about tomorrow. There's a lot of fishing left to do, and we're excited about it.
Fishing has been tough every day for the last 3 or 4 days. It wasn't any different today. We landed 3 fish and then went stone cold after that. We couldn't get them to bite. Marked a lot of fish. Saw a lot of bait, but we couldn't get them to bite. Tomorrow we need 3 big fish. That's our goal.
Salmon Showdown is brought to you by Clemens Boats, your Great Lakes Albemarle dealer. Purple Taco Fly Supply. Create your own trolling flies. Ray's Eyewear. It pays to wear Ray's. Welcome back to Salmon Showdown, where it is day 2 of the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge. Big boxes and big fish were scarce here on day number 1, and both of our featured teams struggled to find anything worth filling one of their 3 slots for the Founders Cup. So 3 big fish are on today's to-do list for both teams as they head out for this morning's shotgun start. Yesterday on board the One, they were marking fish steadily throughout the fishing period. Unfortunately, the activity on the graph just didn't translate to activity on the rods. Despite that lackluster catch, they've decided to give it another shot. You may be right, it may be crazy.
I'm anticipating an insane day of fishing today because we're going to be trying the exact same thing as yesterday, expecting different results.
Shiny Objects, on the other hand, had enough on day number 1 and plans to run in an effort to change their luck.
Today we get to beat everybody off the start. Now,
We have to be.
well, Innuendo will pass us eventually because we're faster, but we're faster
If they're
off
going
the
that
start.
way, though.
If they're going that way.
And there is Team Innuendo just off Shiny Object's port side, which means that Rich will soon get to test his theory that off the line, his 21-foot Lund can beat this 41-footer and the 1,200 plus horses that push it.
He's zipping up his comfortable heated cabin, and we're about to get our chill on.
Yeah, we are. We might be a popsicle time we get there, but we'll be.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
While Shiny Objects blazes a trail south en route to new waters, the One is right back where they started yesterday. Perhaps it wasn't so crazy after all.
Okay.
So, 3 fish probably for today.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, go ahead and I'll get this if you want to start letting out another rod.
£14.
Back on Shiny Objects, the jury's still out on their decision to run, but another verdict is in, and we find this team guilty of hunger pangs.
Ham, turkey, and pastrami.
No bologna on the boat.
No bologna on the boat? We always have bologna on the boat. A lot of folks will make these, little itty bitty sandwich things. Well, we need big fish, so we need big sandwiches. Don't have any fish lime yet on my fingers to get on the sandwich. I don't know if they're going to be quite as good.
Meanwhile, over on the One, it's starting to look like their quick start might have just been a one-off.
All right, it's a little bit after 8 o'clock. We did our usual program here. We got the one big fish to start, and we're not marking a whole lot. It's changed a lot in here, so we're pulling our lines right now, and we're gonna head a lot deeper.
Salmon Showdown is brought to you by Dreamweaver, leading the way in Big Lakes trolling gear. Jacobs Financial Services, keep your money safe. Garmin, explore their full line of marine products at Garmin.com. Welcome back to Salmon Showdown. We are well into the final fishing period of the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge. On board the Shiny Objects, action has been scarce.
So we stuck to our plan. We have not had releases. We have not been marking a whole lot of fish. Not the results we've been expecting, but you know, they call it the curse of the cameraman. So I'm not sure if that's actually a real thing because John seems really nice. So 3 big fish. That doesn't sound hard.
Not much better on the one where they've bailed on their starting position and ran out deep. Right now, it's looking like a good call.
I don't know if that's going to help you. I'll tell you that you're tugging on it. All I wanted is to feel a little pressure. Leave it in neutral. Leave it in neutral. Stay in neutral. Stay in neutral. Big one. Big fish. Go. Gear. Big fish.
Nice.
That's a decent lake trout in the box for the one, and based on what we've seen here so far in Grand Haven, it's giving this team hope that a good score is still within reach. Back on Shiny Objects, they've finally got some action.
He's right here, Doug.
On one hand, it could be bigger. On the other hand, it is bigger than anything else they've caught so far. Time is growing short on day number 2, and over on the one, they're starting to realize that sometimes no matter where you go, you just can't seem to find them.
Well, we haven't had much action in the last hour and a half or so. We're still hopeful. We're still looking for an upgrade right now.
This was a bad day.
But it could have been worse. Don could have kissed me just then.
It's all our camera fault.
Thanks, Jay. Quite the wordsmith. But we get the point. Both teams felt good going in, both teams had a camera crew, and both teams kind of tanked.
Gone. I knew that was going to happen.
I'm not sure if that's enough evidence to prove the existence of the Salmon Showdown camera curse, but it certainly doesn't help in disproving it.
You know, sometimes you have a fishing day where you just can't get the fish in the boat. We lost some important fish today and yesterday. Nobody's fault, it's just fishing. It's not catching. So fishing up and down the lake from all the reports, unless you're in Michigan City or on the other side of the lake, we're not good. So
123, sadly inside the pier heads. Made it back inside the pier heads a couple minutes late. Camped in Grand Haven, fished a lot. Was pretty optimistic going into the tournament start, and didn't have the results that we wanted to have. We got a lot of fishing left this season to do, and we're gonna do it the best that we can.
So we are in the middle of the waiting here at the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge. There are nearly 70 boats going through the process of getting their final scores. Our 2 featured teams have already completed that process. Went pretty good for one, not so good for the other. Let's throw those scores into our leaderboard and see what impact they had. Neither team posted a score high enough to crack the top 10 this week. In fact, because they missed the pierhead deadline, Team Shiny Objects was technically disqualified and leaves Grand Haven with a 0. It's a bit better news for the one whose day 2 catch translates to just over 72 points. Not the best score, but it's also their first score, so they've got plenty of time to improve that number in the coming weeks. And that leaves us just enough time to congratulate the host tournament winners here in Grand Haven. Once again this season, the Offshore Challenge turns out to be one of the most attended events on the circuit. While the teams were prevalent, the fish were scarce. These teams found a way to rise above those challenges, which makes their victories all the more sweet. To find out more about the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge, you can follow them on Facebook or visit them online at tournamenttrail.net/Grand Perhaps we'll see you here next season on the Lake Michigan Tournament Trail. Well, that's going to wrap it up here from the Grand Haven Offshore Challenge. Thanks to both our featured teams, The One and Shiny Objects 2. And we'd also like to congratulate the Port Tournament winners from both the pro and the AM side here at the GHOC. Those pro winners taking home over $15,000 for the victory. So congratulations and thanks to everyone that showed up here to fish. And thanks to you for watching Salmon Showdown.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Wave Pro. Best ride on the water. Online at waveproshock.com.